Hey folks, today we're making the cheapest and easiest synthesizer you could ever make using just a few components. It's raw, it's lo-fi, and as you'll see, not everything went according to plan. Let's get started. At the heart of this synth is the legendary 555 timer chip, one of the most versatile and widely used ICs. It's commonly found in Atari Punk Consoles, drum machines, and weird glitchy sound toys. Rather than working with the chip directly, I found these cheap 555 timer modules that have everything we need already built in, including a little onboard potentiometer. They come in two configurations, one with a single pot and the larger one with two pots, which supposedly controls pulse width, but I have my doubts. We'll see. In addition to the 555 timer module, we'll be using a few extra components. Potentiometers for better control over frequency, a 9-volt battery to power the circuit, a piezo buzzer for the sound output, and an audio jack which we'll add later as an upgrade. These timer modules come with pins already attached, so you can just plonk it straight into your breadboard. Next, we'll plug in our battery and piezo to the corresponding pins on the module. And now, drumroll please. We have a synthesizer. I didn't say it'd be a good sounding synthesizer, but don't worry, we'll fix that in a minute. Turning the onboard potentiometer lets us raise and lower the frequency of the square wave, and it actually goes
pretty low.
Alright, next let's try out the 2-pot model. The pins are in different locations, but everything else is the same. Now we can start experimenting. When we remove one of the wires of the piezo, it stops the sound, so we can add a button for that functionality. I also thought adding a second button with a resistor might change the frequency, but instead it altered the tone. Kinda cool, but not what we're aiming for. To change the frequency properly, we need to adjust the resistance in the potentiometer. By bridging the pins, you can see that different resistors give us different frequencies. Because accessing these trim pots would be difficult inside the enclosure, I had the idea that I would desolder one and I'd attach an external potentiometer in its place. Now, if you already know what you're doing with electronics, then maybe go ahead and skip this next part because it's about to get ugly. My thought was to remove the built-in potentiometer from the board, but let's just say it didn't go smoothly. Holding the board, heating the pins, and applying pressure all at the same time was a real no-go, bro. I tried wicking away the solder, I tried manhandling it, but at this point I was too deep and I couldn't turn back. A solder sucker or a heat gun probably would have made this much easier, but I don't have those, and I don't plan on getting them. You know, I really like watching those videos where people are fixing up old broken electronics, and usually they're all mangled from whoever the previous owner was. Well, this is how they get all mangled. Finally, the pot came out, but this is where I discovered my first ever torn PCB trace. I'll fix that later, but now let's turn our attention back to the working board. This time, rather than removing the potentiometers, I soldered directly to the legs on the underside of the board. And you might be wondering, why add a potentiometer there when there's already one on the board? Well, the built-in trim pots are tiny, difficult to turn, and take several rotations to go from the lowest value to the highest. Meanwhile, larger potentiometers can go through the full range in a single turn, and you can position them anywhere you want in an enclosure. Now with everything tacked on, we can make some more noise. After messing with it a bit, I realized one pot changes the pitch a lot, while the other one only changes it slightly. The fine control knob might be affecting the pulse width, but it also changes the frequency, which makes it kind of useless as a melodic pulse width modulation control. Since we didn't need the second control, I turned my focus back onto the broken board. To fix the torn trace, I soldered a wire straight to one of the legs of the 555 timer chip, while the other connections were rerouted through the trim pot holes. And somehow, this got us R2-D2 mode. It turns out the built-in potentiometer on these smaller boards are 1 mega ohm, and I replaced it with a 10K pot. By adding a resistor, we can lower the frequency, but now the new pot doesn't have enough range to adjust it properly. So, getting caught up, here's where we are so far. Get the one pot module because the second knob doesn't do what you think. And if you're me, don't remove the built-in trim pots. If you add a potentiometer, then match the resistance of the trim pot that's already on the board. Rather than messing with this mangled board anymore, I went on Amazon and bought a new 10-pack of 555 modules. This board had additional components on it and somehow went
even lower.
Now that we're back to almost where we started, it's time to put this thing in a real enclosure. We could use a metal enclosure, but I feel like that's overkill for this project. I considered using an NES cartridge. It did fit after all, but I think I'll save that for another day. In the spirit of keeping things lo-fi, I went with a cassette tape case. Inside our lo-fi synth, everything is wired just like before, but instead of a piezo buzzer, we have an audio jack with a 47K resistor in series. And the part I'm most proud of, this wooden dowel that I just glued on with a little scrap of metal. It turns the built-in trim pot, and I don't know if things like this already exist. It would have been a lot easier if they did, but I didn't have any 1 mega ohm potentiometers sitting around, so rather than ordering those and waiting for the post again, I just improvised and it turned out pretty good. So we finally got there. Along the way, we tore a trace, tossed a board, and even fried one trying to add a barrel connector. I didn't show you that part. But in the end, we landed on something really cool. Honestly, if you ever decide to build one of these, all you really need is that 555 timer module, a battery, and a piezo buzzer. That's enough to make your own lo-fi synth and start having fun making noise. Oh, and look, the potentiometer arm just fell off. And before something else breaks, I'm ending it here. And that's it. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this tiny little lo-fi synth. I think I'll definitely be revisiting these 555 timer modules in the future, but until then,
feed the algorithm.
Thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.